Welcome to Direct Talk, interviews with leaders, visionaries, and pioneers who are shaping Asia and the rest of the world. Many women struggle to balance work and raise children at the same time. Having a maternity leave is also often considered a disadvantage for their careers. Today, we talk to an Italian social entrepreneur, Riccarda Zezza, who is helping women get back to their jobs by promoting the idea that nurturing skills learned during maternity leave can be equivalent of a business degree and can be applied at work. We will find out more about this novel idea.
I had the idea 7 years ago. I left my workplace after my second child, and I started thinking, what can I do to change the perspective of the world of work on family? Because there was a conflict. You could see it, I could feel it, and all the women, I think, in the world have this kind of conflict. And they don't go back to work after maternity leave very often. And this is a loss of resources for the families and for the economy.
Having difficulty going back to work after maternity leave, an Italian social entrepreneur, Riccarda Zezza, came up with the idea that parenting skills can be useful at work and can be equivalent of a master's degree. In 2013, she set up a certificate program called the Maternity as a Master, or MAAM, which enables a mother to use her parenting skills as professional business skills. The diploma can be earned online. Now, approximately 4,000 mothers and fathers have taken the program.
So I had this idea that we could actually consider this leave, this period in which you're away, as a period in which you could actually develop skills and go back to work feeling stronger. So we started studying with a partner, an executive coach. We started studying and researching this subject. For more than a year, we just did research. We found out a lot of biological evidence that actually becoming a mother makes a woman stronger. And also a lot of sociological evidence that having more roles make people stronger and have more skills. So the scientific part was all there. It was already, everything was discovered. But nobody had connected the fact that having more roles gives you more skills and more resources to the fact that actually becoming a mother means having more roles. So the idea came to me that actually maternity could be considered as a master's in soft skills instead of a problem for the companies.
Riccarda Zezza was born in Italy and has worked in the field of research and marketing in major corporations. She had 2 children, and in 2012, upon returning from her second maternity leave, she was demoted. She felt pressure to resign and decided to do something about it.
Work is not just for income, it's also citizenship. It's a way to be citizens, so it's an identity, it's very strong. And this kind of problem makes so that women don't have children either. Because if they think that they have to choose between working and having children, they will choose to work. So in Italy we have very low fertility rates, and I think Japan has a similar problem. We're not having children anymore, we're not working either. It's a lose-lose situation, and even for the workplace this is a lose situation. Companies are looking for women. They want women at work, but they don't change their habits, and that's why they don't get the women. The company saw my life becoming more complex with 2 children, and they in a way tried to help me by telling me, why don't you step back a little bit, take less responsibility so your life will be easier. And I couldn't explain this. I didn't ask for this. I'm happy to keep on working. And I looked around and I saw many more situations like this, in which companies, even in goodwill, they want to help women in a way, or they think women want to step back, so they help them in this. I had this message from my workplace, but at the same time, being a mother was making me stronger. I felt more balanced. I felt a lot of energy. And I also had a new vision about the world. I thought the world was more important because now I was caring for my children, and I wanted the world to be a better place. So I wanted to contribute even more. So the fact that they were asking me to step back didn't work for me. And I also realized that actually those skills that I was asked to learn in the classroom with the very expensive trainings, I was practicing them with my children. For example, think of crisis management. A 2-year-old daughter is a very good training ground for crisis management. And that was the paradox that I saw.
In 2012, Zezza set up an organization and created a co-working space for mothers called Piano C in Milan, where women can work as well as train and share their skills during and after maternity leave. Today, similar places exist in many cities across Italy.
In 2012, when I left my last workplace, the first thing I did was Piano C, which means Plan C, because the idea was Plan A is having a career, Plan B is having a family, Plan C is you don't have to choose. And the idea was to start the first co-working space in Italy with a co-baby service. Very simply putting an area for children, for small children, in a co-working. This way we could have many, many women who are still breastfeeding or at the beginning of their work, and they could take their children with them. And also we allowed men, but men were allowed only if they brought children with them. That was a sort of a provocation to make a change. We wanted to show how easy it is, how this is not an expensive or complex thing to do. It's very easy. And the good thing is this, in these years, Plan C has become a model for Italy. So many more co-working spaces have added or at least considered some children's service. It's a way to change the mentality. It's all about changing the mindset.
Now Zezza's program is introduced in 40 major corporations in 23 countries. She also travels around the world to give lectures and workshops to spread the program. In 2014, she published the book called Motherhood as a Master's in Italian. The book is translated into English and is scheduled to be translated into many other languages.
And I think they realize that this is a win-win solution, different from the kind of other things you would normally see, which are fixing the problem. This is transforming the problem into an opportunity. So the most important thing we're seeing is that all the companies are renewing the program every year, which means their people are very happy. We have a very high rate of satisfaction from the users. 97% of them would recommend the program to other people. They're all ambassadors. And I think they could really see in these years how people are stronger. Especially the mothers, they really say very strongly that this is amazing because basically they already know. They already knew that they were this thing, but they needed the company to acknowledge it. That's why it's so effective. And for the fathers, it's also very interesting. The fathers started later, 1 year later, and it's voluntarily. So the men subscribe only if they want to, also for the women. But the men that are subscribing, they're telling us, finally my company sees that I am a father. This is such an important part of my identity, and they didn't see it. So that makes them, they could finally be also more kind, more open. And they are telling us that they are improving their listening, their self-consciousness. And we really think they will improve their emotional intelligence by practicing fatherhood with this level of consciousness. At the moment, most of the decision makers are men. So involving men is very, very important. We have, on one hand, we have to involve men. On the other hand, we have to empower women. And I think that using parenting experience for this is very, very effective because it's a very strong identity dimension for both of them. So women feel empowered. They see the leadership model in the maternal experience. It's very strong because you make some other people grow, you empower them, and you are the decision maker. And for men, it's very important to be more aware of this dimension and don't think that this is just about the mothers, but see their own roles. So I think this is a good way to get them together, and together is the only way to make a change.
Zezza goes out not only to major corporations, but she also gives lectures in colleges to change the mindset starting at a younger generation. She also travels outside Europe to spread the program. Zezza argues the program may work better in developing countries.
We have seen in these years, we had tests in 23 countries, everywhere I would say in the world, because some Italian companies opened the program also in other countries. And we have seen that the method works in every culture. because the parental experiences has got a common thread in every culture. And we have seen this in these days in Japan as well. It's very strong, the kind of recognition that women have of this dimension of leadership. I think that paradoxically sometimes it's easier in the developing countries because there is less of a strong system to fight, and actually women are stronger in those countries. They are standing up much stronger. In a way, women in Western countries sometimes a little bit, let me say, lazy, because we are comfortable at the end of the day, while in countries where things are even worse, women are stepping up, and that's very important. So what we've seen is that the method works, so they recognize the model, and I believe they will be even quicker than us. And I think we should have also a professional version, so we don't go through companies, but we also can give it directly to people. It will take a while, but that's another good way to reach those countries.
Widening her horizon, Zezza says that this program works not only for parents, but for people who are caregivers in different capacities. Research shows that having children is not enough to acquire these skills, and that having children is not necessary to have these skills. Because what happens is that you get this kind of resources whenever you have a very strong transition in life, so a very strong change in your life. That's a very good time for learning and in raising your resources, and whenever you are a caregiver. So if you take care of your own parents, if you take care of someone else, if you have a caregiving ongoing activity, that's another very good way to acquire those skills. So in Italy, like in many other countries, we have aging societies more and more, and there are more and more people taking care of their elderly parents. And so we are actually researching right now how we can apply the method to those caregivers, but the research is already showing that the potential is there because it's about caregiving. So it's, if you are a father, but you don't take care of your children, you don't acquire those skills. But if you are a person without children and you're taking care of your own parents, then you do. You're practicing, that's the point. It's a practice. So the more opportunities you have to practice those relational, organizational, and innovation skills in relations, then the more, of course, you develop them. It's so obvious. It's just that people, for some reason, and companies, are seeing this practice as different from the work practice, while it's the same, because it's the same people and it's the same skills. As we see the workforce dwindling with the increase of the aging population, Zezza argues that bridging the gap between work and one's private life is an absolute necessity. And it's, let's say, it's very true that work has entered the private life. And I think this is a good way to feel like the private life is also supporting work, because the boundaries are not there anymore, which doesn't mean that you don't have to have different situations, but it means that if you're aware that you are the same person in every situation, that it makes it easier. And it takes away also the guilt, which is very, very hard. I think in Japan as much as in Italy, we always think we're not doing enough, or we're not being enough. But if you realize that actually all the dimensions are supporting each other, then you are more relaxed. We are not, I normally say, we consider ourselves as cakes. So the more slices we have, the smaller the slices. But we're not cakes. We are like circles, concentric circles. So the more circles we have, the bigger the area of energies we have. And that's the way we can look at things. And it's all in our mind. That's why it's so effective. Sense of possibility is unique to the human species. We are the only living species that has this. And it means that you can see reality as it is, and you can imagine how it could be, and you can work to make it happen. And I think this is very important. We lost it a little bit in our cultures, all of us. We think we have to adapt to reality and we can't change it, while I really think we can. And we have to use this sense as much as possible because it's needed. And you can go very far, because if you think about MAAM, it was just an idea. And now I can see people changing and because of an idea. So I think sense of possibility is really, really strong, can make a difference, can have an impact.